Hi everyone. So I'd like to talk to you today about something very important. This topic is so important that it affects a lot of people. Some even don't even know that it affects them. Some people don't even know that it has a name, but it does have a name. It's called Impostor Syndrome. Have you heard of it before? Probably. Maybe not. So let's get to it. So what is imposter syndrome? Imposter syndrome is an internal experience of believing that you are not as capable as others perceive you to be. It is also an overwhelming feeling that you don't deserve your success, even though you've worked very hard for it. You pass an exam, you've passed, but you still feel like you're not supposed to pass. You still feel like, maybe the examiner made a mistake or something. We all have these feelings. Once in a while, you went for an interview, and instead of you, being happy that you got the job, on getting to the job, you begin to feel like, you don't deserve the job at all. A lot of people have these feelings. It is not abnormal to have these feelings. In fact, imposter syndrome is typically associated with high achievers. Okay? So if you have this feeling of you're not supposed to be here, I'm not supposed to be there, this job is not supposed to be mine, that's a very good one. It shows that you are an high achiever. So if you feel like a fraud, sometimes you feel like a fraud, you feel like, I was going to be caught, even when you've done nothing wrong. So if you ever feel like a fraud, it's a good one. It shows that you are not a fraud. It shows that you are probably capable of doing more than you think you can do. It's so funny because real frauds are not going to worry about all these things. They're going to be worrying about how they're going to cover up their steps, and they're going to be worrying about how they can do more frauds. So this feelings has affected a lot of people, especially in workplaces. I tell you, even it has affected some people in their businesses. You just be frustrated at work. You just be, high level frustration. Another symptom is low self-esteem. You begin to feel very low. You don't want to associate. You don't want to talk. You don't want to say your opinions. And another symptom is high level of anxiety. You just be afraid for what is not. And another symptom is doubt. Doubt. You just be doubting yourself. You just be doubting your confidence, doubting your competencies, even if it is something that you've done before. And there are some other symptoms, out there. We can think if it has happened to you before, you will know. But like I said, that is not a mental disorder. It's probably normal for you to feel this way. But if you don't do something about it, it may affect you. It may affect your progress, your success, your promotion. It may affect even the God-given purpose for your life. It may cause you to have setback. It may cause you not to be able to do the things you ought to do at the right time. So we need to deal with that imposter syndrome. I've experienced it before. A lot of people have experienced it. In fact, there are a lot of people that during their interviews, they've kind of said that they've experienced this before. And if you've never experienced it before, well, good luck. I'm happy for you. But these are some of the feelings you have. Maybe let me go through some of these feelings again. You feel that you're not a professional, even though you are. Sometimes you feel like you're incompetent. Sometimes you feel shy. You feel that you're not confident enough. Sometimes you feel that some people can't be your friend. You just put yourself very low. Can these feelings go away? I said probably not. But you just have to deal with it. A lot of people have dealt with it in such a way that it has become like a norm to them. When the feeling or the thought, when it comes, they have something they do, they have something they say, I was watching a TED show sometimes ago, and the lady said that she has a name for it. Maybe I can't remember, but something like Mr. Tom. So whenever she's feeling that way, she'll say, Mr. Tom, you're here again. I'm not available today. And then she will move on. A lot of people also try to encourage themselves by telling themselves positive things. So let's go to what can I do? Number one is that you need to believe in yourself. That is very important. You know why? Because no one can believe you if you don't believe in yourself. No one can believe in you more than you do. If other people, if they believe in you more than you do, then you're probably less of what you think you are. You're probably more than that. You can probably do more than that. But because you've kind of shortchanged yourself by not believing in yourself, others begin to see you at that level where you've placed yourself. But when you believe that you are an high achiever, when you believe that you can do all things, when you just believe in your God-given purpose, God-given potentials, and begin to work in it, and begin to use it, and begin to exercise it, you will see that other people around you, especially your colleagues, will begin to see that in you, because it will affect every area of your life, even to the extent that it affects the way you walk, your posture. It affects the way you talk. It affects the way you relate with other people. So from today, start believing in yourself. It may be very difficult. I tell you, it's not that simple. It's not that simple, but at the same time, it's not rocket science. I've seen some people that this is how they've overcome it. Some people would write posters, positive words, and place it on in every corner of their house. Something like, I am an high achiever. Something like, I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. Something like, I can crush anything. I can do anything. People just write positive words. Something like, I'm intelligent. Something like, I'm the most intelligent in the world. People just write all these things because when they wake up and see these things, when they come to their living room and see these things, it kind of sets the day for them. So when they go out there, those words rings in their head. Another thing is, don't have friends who don't believe in your achievements, who don't believe in your success, who don't believe in what you can become. Because the more you hear negative comments, the more you hear negative things about you, the more it pulls you down, the less you start believing in yourself. Another thing that is very important is to identify the root cause. Do you know that sometimes when you identify the root cause of a matter, it helps you solve a lot of other problems that you're not even thinking about. You know that there are two things that I would say. Some people, they have this impostor syndrome, and the root cause may be that they don't just believe in themselves. Some other people have this imposter syndrome, but the real root cause is that not that they're not competent, but they lack preparation. They don't prepare for things. And so because of that, they are actually incompetent. What do I mean by that? For example, you have a meeting at work. You know that you have a meeting at work. You know that you're going to have to contribute. You know that you're going to have to give your input, but you didn't prepare for it. I tell you that a lot of people, before they go to meetings, those people that you think, oh, they talk very well at meetings, they know everything. I tell you, nobody knows everything. A lot of people do research. A lot of people read books. A lot of people read a lot of things before they go into meetings. A lot of people prepare themselves for questions, And so when they get to meetings, they talk. Even if it's not what they've prepared for, but they just talk. But you need to be very careful. I've seen a lot of people that, because they want to make sense in meetings, they end up becoming nuisance. What do I mean by that? So you've prepared and all that. A lot of people cram informations and all that. But If it works for you, why not? But when they now get to meetings, they don't listen. And because they don't listen, they have the set ideas in their head that they want to drop. So even when the conversation is not going in that line, and because they're not listening, they will just say things that are irrelevant. And instead of making positive impact, instead of making sense, people begin to wonder, what are you talking about? Are you even listening? So it is important that you listen, you master whatever you want to say. You do a lot of research, and it's not a one-time thing. I'm not sure if you've noticed that people who read a lot of books, they tend to communicate more. They tend to always have things to say. So it's not just only when you have meetings or exams or so. Number one is that believe in yourself. Number two is that identify the root cause. It may not fall into these two categories, but you may need to find out what it is that that is the root cause. Another thing is you must know is that you must keep reminding yourself that it affects a lot of people. It's not just you. A number of high achieving people are also affected. People like Michelle Obama, in one of her interviews, did say that, she has experienced impostor syndrome before. I don't know if she still does, but, people like that, people like Kate Winslet, people like Emma Watson, they've spoken about, these things. It affects people, even the person interviewing you. Do you know that before you get into that interview room, that person was probably thinking, oh, what if this person asks me a question I don't know? It affects everybody. Before you go for that business presentation, do you know if the panel were thinking, what if this person asks a question that we won't be able to answer? So it affects everybody. You just need to overcome it. Another thing is by keep reminding yourself that this thing affects people. It's not just me. It affects a lot of people. It's even affecting the person you're going to meet, my colleagues, everybody, my boss, your bosses at work. It affects them. But keep reminding yourself that you're not the only one will help you. Another thing is that you must be hardworking. Fine, you don't want to feel incompetent in your job. You don't want to feel low. You don't want to have low self-esteem. But you must be hardworking. You must do your work. You must be excellent at what you do. Because when you're excellent at what you do, people will notice. Your colleagues at work will notice. Your teacher in school will notice. People around you will just know that you're hardworking. Another thing is that you must know that people make mistakes. We all make mistakes. So when you make mistakes, forgive yourself. A lot of people don't forgive themselves when they make mistakes. And because they don't forgive themselves, they keep making more and more mistakes because they can't concentrate and focus on other things. So you must know that every now and then we make mistakes, and sometimes mistakes are meant to sharpen us, to put us in the right direction so that we don't repeat those mistakes again. Another thing is that when you succeed, when you have success, you're promoted, you do well at work, you were recognized for success, for excellence, celebrate yourself. Celebrate yourself. How do you celebrate yourself? Take yourself out. Eat good food, something you don't eat before. Drink, maybe juice, water. That's what I mean. Just enjoy yourself. Just take yourself out. Buy yourself new clothes, new shoes. Just do something new. Just celebrate your success. Share your success with friends. Friends, be careful. Friends that they're true friends. And then always keep friends that are positive about you. I've said that before. That is very important. Keep friends that are positive about the things you do. And another thing is that have an overcoming phrase. Have an overcoming phrase. Whenever that feeling or that thought comes to you, you know what to say. Give it a name. Let it be like a joke. So whenever it's coming, you say, oh, Mr. Tom, I know you're there, but I don't have time for you today because this is going to be successful. Because I am what I am by the grace of God. Because I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. Because I am an high achiever. because nobody here can do it better than me. So just say something positive about yourself. Think positive about yourself. When others succeed, celebrate them. If you don't know anything, don't be shy to ask. Ask your colleagues, ask your boss, ask anybody. And if you don't know anything, Google is your best friend. So let Google be your best friend. So I've given you 7 points on how you can overcome imposter syndrome. But that is not all. But I tell you, practically, it works. But if you think that you have more suggestions, please put in the comment below. Let's share ideas. Let's reason together. And I will see you next time. Bye.